stole my Ready Player One book. You said you were going to read it. You never did. Then you lost the book, and I never got a chance to read it.
These are all being handled by my lawyers, all these accusations.
Well,
yo, you got sketched.
This is a Schmoes Knows live update here. Hey, we're trying to record a video, man. Idiot.
Go suck in a toad fart.
Anyway, so obviously we're about 2 minutes away from the movie theater, but as you can see, the light's been green for almost 30 seconds now. We have yet to move because everyone is spilling into the theater wanting to capture the motion picture event of the world. We are moving at snail's pace here. This is simply incredible. This is almost bigger than The Force Awakens. I cannot describe you the chills that are going on. Just look at my hand right now. Ready Player One! 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 Chills is the only way I can describe this night. Yeah, check out this cool shirt that I got. Flea market, $5. Han shop first. Suck it, George.
Go suck in a toad fart.
Yeah, whatever. Let's get to the filming. I'm Christian Harloff. You know me from Schmoes. You know me from Schmoes Knows. And from the technical difficulties we're having, you may notice that my buddy Mark is... My buddy Mark is not here. He got invited to the LA premiere of Ready Player One. I guess I missed the invite. One of the Schmoes didn't go. It's cool, I guess.
I'm hoping and praying that I will get an invite.
Mark suffered a tragic accident at the Ready Player One review. He died of excitement at all the references. Mark, come over here. Ow! God!
Crap.
Mark, what's gotten into you, man?
The movie looks horrible.
Mark,
I don't want to be a part
we
of it.
gotta review Ready Player One.
No.
Spoiler
You're
review.
going to lose your favorite schmo.
Our audience.
I'm not doing this.
Mark, please. Mark, you know I can't do it without you, man. Why did you get invited to the LA premiere and I didn't? If you didn't like the movie.
It was the premiere, so I wouldn't know if I liked it or not.
Mark, don't go. Reconsider.
You better lose your favorite schmo, ho. I have had it to your demands.
Mark, what are you thinking, man? Mark, don't do it!
Very cool.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
So I'm joined today by my good friend, Shane Shadrick.
Yeah!
Yeah, he's here from Dimes Reviews. And as you can tell, we are outside the theater here. I'm a schmo, not sure how to work the camera properly.
Very, very cool.
We're at the AMC movie theater, and let me tell you something. We saw Ready Player One, and it was freaking awesome.
Yeah!
I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah!
It was awesome. I got everything I wanted. It was just a fun movie. It was a fun fair of a movie. Of course, I saw the movie with my movie pass, which you can buy right now for $6.99 a month. Now you're probably expecting a Ready Player One review. And yes, that's gonna come.
You have as well, because, Christian, this is the big one, the spoiler-heavy review.
Spoilers in the house.
However, there's a lot of people that I want to address. And these are the people that go to a movie just to not have fun, to just make fun of it the whole time. And that's sick. That's sick. Let people enjoy what they want, for God's sake. All right? And people who don't like this... People who don't like this movie could suck on a toad fart. I'm here with a girl whose name we obviously don't know, and a girl who obviously doesn't want to be here. What do you think of Ready Player One? Insert name here.
My name's Josie, and I just really didn't like it. I thought it was a terrible film, and I would never go see it again.
Did you get the right script? Did you get the check?
What are you
We're talking about
about?
Ready Player One, right? Like, you loved it.
That was hot garbage.
Hot garbage?
Hot garbage.
Look, let's talk this through real quick. Here's $5. Don't let the camera see it, obviously. What'd you think of Ready Player One?
I thought it was so good. I want to go see it again. Best movie I've ever seen.
What'd you like about it?
Like the characters and like the plot was so good.
There was a lot of plot in that movie, wasn't it?
I loved it. Screw you. I freaking hate your videos and they're really stupid and I don't like you and I really just hate this.
Wow, that's terribly offensive. Maybe you could use that $5 and buy yourself a better attitude next time.
Wow, nice one.
Maybe you should go to Channel Awesome. I hear they treat the women there pretty nicely. Like a hack fraud. I bet you're the type of girl that acts like she's an assistant director on some movie and did absolutely nothing. I don't know what I'm referring to there.
Strangely specific.
Just rolling along.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you should go watch Ready Player One again and redecide, you know, all your life up into this point.
Yeah, I'd rather not. So.
Hey, I saw you lipping in the movie theater. Are you alright?
System malfunction.
Dude, I've never been better. The reason I was limping is because I saw things that I recognized on the screen. And every time I saw it, it produced a reaction inside of me as a human being. It created a visceral reaction where I stood up among the audience that were seated because they probably didn't understand who Gundam was. But I knew who Gundam was. So I stood up and I applauded.
Man, are you sure you can drive for that leg?
Yes, we're gonna drive, and we're gonna go drive to the next movie theater and go see Ready Player One. We're gonna see it in different movie theaters and make sure to get the most money as possible. And if you don't like it, you can suck on a toad fart.
Go suck on a toad fart.
Cool.
Very
cool.
Very cool.
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool.
This is pretty much the worst video ever made.
Napoleon.
Help us save the Oasis.
When I think of Ready Player One, one visual image constantly enters my head. Maybe more of a word, but it's a word I'm constantly reminded of when I think of this movie. The word, of course, is pander. But to whom is this movie pandering to? Some think that it's marketed towards the tween age range, but I don't know any tween who really cares that much about Iron Giant. So if not the tweens, then who is this marketed towards? Who's buying the tickets? I'd say, besides gluttons for punishment, these
kids who found the Easter eggs.
I grew up with this film, and I myself grew up reading.
Guys, I grew up with King Kong.
Because that's how I grew up. Now, if you grew up in the 90s, I grew up.
Of course, I can't really fault them for getting excited at seeing stuff they recognize. However, it delves deep in the toxic cringe levels very often, especially when they begin to clap in theaters.
I clapped when I saw it.
Naturally, they're going to see the DeLorean in a trailer and lose their mind. It's the DeLorean.
Jump is going to be playing in it. I'm going to have to go see that just because of Jump. And the DeLorean's in it.
Ah, you fool! You fell victim to one of the classic blunders.
What makes the DeLorean cool? It's not about the car per se, but it's more about who is riding in it and what it represents. What does it represent in Ready Player One?
We're in the money. Bring God along.
I'll let you decide. There's nothing inherently wrong about getting excited about seeing King Kong in a movie that doesn't have the title King Kong in it. But if that's all the movie has to offer, then is it even really worth our time? I can watch the far superior movies whenever I want and get more nostalgia if the characters really mean something to me. And shouldn't we expect more from our movies than just cheap nostalgia? Shouldn't we want more creative movies with original ideas? And movies that are actually improving pre-established lore to be pushed to the forefront? Not just references? It's like the new Simpsons episodes where the whole premise is, look, Lady Gaga. And they do absolutely nothing with it. It's just more of a novelty gag. Shouldn't we want more from our movies? Anyway, enough about pandering. Let's get to why this is a bad movie in general. Starting with Number 1, The Everything. This movie is my ultimate nightmare come to life. Everything from the CGI to the flat characters, to the slapstick, to the awful plot holes. They're just some of the many things that haunt me when thinking about this movie. Well, that and...
Oh my God! What's wrong with your face?
So this movie really should be considered about as live action as the live action SpongeBob movie should. There's about as much live action in both movies, and even then, a lot of it looks like it was shot in front of a green screen background.
It's so dense, every single image has so many things going on.
Spielberg shouldn't even really be credited as the director, because it's very clear how rushed all the live action stuff is, and how little interest Spielberg has in it. Clearly wants to spend as much time as possible in the Oasis.
And I remember after about 4 times seeing the same shot, I said, who snuck a gremlin in this thing? I didn't give permission for gremlins to be in this movie.
And it seemed like Spielberg was really the wrong choice for this movie. But you know, there's some people who'll do anything for $1.
I'd buy that for $1.
Anyway, since Spielberg hated the live action stuff, it brings me to my next point, which is, wow, the characters in this movie really suck. So on the characters, we have Good Guy, who is good because he is good, and don't question him, and don't dig any deeper because he is good, and all we want to see is Gundam.
I grew up with...
And it is the classic good guy versus bad guy, who is bad because he is old and rich, so he is bad, and because poor Ben Mendelsohn will be ever typecast in these roles. The far more interesting characters are pushed aside to make way for the self-insert character.
He was like my kid on this film, you know.
The characters in this movie are so laughably bad. It almost comes off as if the source material was written by someone who should have never gotten a book deal for his fan fiction.
When you started Ready Player One, how much fiction had you even published?
I had not. Ready Player One is my first published work.
Probably because it was written by someone who should have never gotten a book deal for his fan fiction. We're given no reason to care about the protagonist because his goal is so cliche. He wants to win so he can get rich. Boom. Never seen that in a movie before. And to be fair, it is a cliche goal, but it can be done right. But this is not done right. The character isn't likable, mostly because we never really see the main actor all that much, and if we do, his face is either halfway covered up, or he has the same stupid expression on his face the whole movie long. And of course, the romance is awful.
Welcome to the rebellion, Wade.
That's just lazy writing.
It's super rushed, and it's almost too convenient that he meets the girl he's fallen in love with in the game, that is apparently the most popular game of all time that the whole world is playing. Of course, the plot is what it is. A movie where characters go into a game, and yeah, you've seen it before, but you've seen it better. Wreck-It Ralph pulled this off way better because it was less about the games and the references, which it did have, but they were actually clever. But it was more of a character-driven movie. You actually cared about our protagonist, and he was layered and had a simple yet interesting goal. And the world in Wreck-It Ralph does play a large part, but it is done smartly by showing, not telling. It's all in a very visually interesting way, whereas in this movie, it's done by the protagonist talking to the audience for about 20 minutes about what this whole Oasis thing is all about.
We're in this amazing universe called the Oasis. A world called the Oasis, created by an Oasis, called the Oasis.
It's ironic that in this world of pure imagination,
And you'll be in a world of pure imagination.
the more interesting stuff is what happens in the real world.
You cannot substitute being in love and being in life with...
Shut up, you hack!
The world seems a bit dystopian, of course, because part of this has to be marketed towards tweens. But the world is dystopian because a large corporation is trying to take over the world, it seems. At least the world that matters to people. And it seems like people have given up on our real world to flee to the Oasis.
It's called the Oasis.
And I wish it would have actually been explored. But of course, in reference to the movie, you can't have anything too interesting that would take away from the nostalgia. We hear a bit about how people are abused or taken away for not paying fees or something like that in relation to the game, but we never really delve deeper into it.
Going to school there because it's much more glamorous and everything that the real world is not.
Nolan Sorrento is the head of this corporation, IOI, who controls all the hardware.
The evil group even kidnaps children and are having them enslaved to play the Oasis for the group's own game. Now, this is actually pretty interesting, but is anybody noticing that children are going missing? Of course, one could say that that is the intention, and that it's almost a statement about how wrapped up people are in the digital world. And
generation where all of us, including myself, and all the kids are going to get bone spurs in their neck from looking down.
I was born in the wrong generation.
There is even an explosion by the evil group that would make them terrorists by most standards, and an explosion that people actually noticed and actually got people killed, because they did say at the end of the movie that they noticed. And we know there are cops, so the question is, how come nobody called the cops? And don't get me started on how fast our relatable hero gets over the loss of his aunt in the explosion. He forgot about it, and so did I, because Steven Spielberg put no effort into actually building a character relationship there, because it's just all so flat. So obviously the world this movie is set in is pretty uninteresting and not very well executed, and parts of it really just make no sense. In the movie's quest to bend over backwards to 80s and 90s kid.
Now if you grew up in the 90s at all
of the brands in this movie have the retro logos, and it makes zero sense in the sense of the world. Why are the characters eating out of the 1980s bags of Doritos in 2045 or whenever this movie takes place?
Now if you grew up in the 90s at all.
It goes back to that pandering point. It severely hurts some of the things in this movie that could actually be legitimately cool, or even, dare I say, original. Of course, the soundtrack is just easily recognizable 80s songs.
If you want to be born in the 80s, go for it. But keep in mind, you won't have your stupid little iPhones and your stupid little computer games.
Like movies like Baby Driver or Guardians, which have actually done it well, this movie just seems to do songs that they know the general public will like. It's funny to note that in the movie trailer, the song that plays is Pure Imagination, which should never really play for a trailer for a movie that wouldn't exist if it weren't for some far superior movies. Pretty much anything in this movie that is an original creation looks so uninspired and generic that it shows how little effort went into the
Your imagination.
part of the movie. Just,
oh my God, what's wrong with your face?
And this whole upcoming year for movies doesn't look much better in the whole original idea department. Studios have been cashing in on blind fanboy nostalgia for years, and sadly 2018 doesn't look much different. The Lost World Part 2 is coming out from, guess who? Steven Spielberg. Also, Rampage is coming out because, remember Rampage? The Predator reboot is also coming out this year because Alien has already been ruined beyond repair. So let's take another classic sci-fi film and ram that into the ground. Halloween 11, yes, 11, is coming out this year, as this was something we were all clamoring for after Jamie Lee Curtis's stellar acting performance in her yogurt commercials. And Overboard, because remember Overboard?
No, I don't want that.
And then a Scarface reboot directed by the director of Suicide Squad. Sounds like a hit. And do I really need to get into the Han Solo movie?
Looking forward to watching a Han Solo movie as a fan?
From high in the hills, the city below looks like any other sprawling metropolis. Yet this one is different. Its fame has spread to the four corners of the earth. Its name is known to practically every man, woman, and child in the universe.
So these constant and unnecessary remakes, reboots, sequels, and prequels expose Hollywood as being a bunch of out-of-touch, unimaginative hack frauds willing to sign away on anything that people may recognize and like to see? I don't know for sure, but the statistics seem to speak for themselves. You see, it used to not always be like this. Movies used to be made to inspire us,
To my wife was home. Yo, Adrian! I did it!
frighten us,
Here's Johnny!
challenge us,
You have testified.
or simply thrill us with something we hadn't seen before.
Trust your feelings.
And we still get movies like that today, and sometimes they even do great financially. Sometimes not so much. But somewhere along the line, however, Hackwood decided the best way to make money was to cash in on nerdy trends and fan culture. Call it the Funko Pop movement, I don't care. Just take a look at the highest grossing films of all time from the highly reputable web zone called Wikipedia. And just look at all the movies in the top 10 that are either sequels or reboots or remakes. Most of something fans or nerds seem to have a genuine liking towards. Now, reboots have existed for a long time. Yes, that's true. But they certainly weren't getting rave reviews and breaking box office records, were they? Just look at all the films that have come out in recent years that were reboots of hit 90s films. Most of those were nerd staples, and I hate using that word, and I will never use it again. So is Hollywood really as good as they say they are? Well, the answer is no.
No.
Also, this movie exploits The Shining, and I'm done talking about it.
Whoa, fire fraud! What are you doing, dog?
Just watching Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Hey! I recognize that!
Did you say recognize?
Yeah, I also recognize all these movies from Ready Player One.
Oh, just recognize like all these Funko Pop characters?
Ready Player One was a love letter to nerd culture, which was why it was amazing!
I clapped!
I clapped when I saw them too!
I clapped because I know Star Wars!
I know what that is!
I wore my Jurassic Park shirt in the movie theater because I knew it would have something related to Jurassic Park. Where was your Jurassic Park shirt, fraud?
I actually brought my Jurassic Park VHS.
What's a VHS? Enough of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Boredom. Let's go watch Ready Player One again and just spout off all the references we see in theaters.
I got eyes.
Movie. Go. If you can get up. Too much, never too much, never too much, never too much.
What's cooking, home dogs? Ready Player One was the best movie I've ever seen. Let's go see it again.